Hello, once again, this is Brother Teacher. You know, I feel good right now. Not that I don't ever feel good, but just in this moment, I feel good because I really feel like some people might say preaching, but I won't say that. I feel like right now expressing something that means something to me, and that is a person's word. Do you recall over the years the expression, um, your word is your bond? That old cliche. Your word is your bond. So, what in the world does that actually mean? It means that your word should be worth something. Truth versus fallacy versus deception versus um, not being transparent, not being genuine, being disingenuous. I pride myself on keeping my word. Now, I learned that as a child. Uh, as a matter of fact, I learned all of the qualities that I possess now as a child. And I'm not beating up on anyone, but I'm just speaking in general right now as it relates to everyone. If you tell me something that you're going to do for me, for example, I expect you to do what you said. I do. Because I measured that by how I would treat another human being. And by virtue of what I just said, the values that I was taught as a child, I maintain those and hold steadfast to those today. And one of those things is keeping my word. If you ask me to do something, I know that there's a certain amount of trust that you have when you ask me. I'm going to make it a point to do that thing that you asked me, or I'm going to tell you that I can't do it, or I'm going to give you a date or some sort of requisite. I'm going to say, hey, maybe I can do it on this particular date, or I will do it on this date. Maybe I can't do it on that particular date that you're asking me right now. However it goes, I'm going to try and make sure or certain that I can accomplish that thing that you're asking me if it's within my power to do. And if it's not within my power to do, I'm even going to tell you that it's not within my power to do. And I don't necessarily feel that I owe an explanation if I can't do a particular thing. And a person who feels like you should have to explain yourself, they have a problem. And so, you, the person who's honorable, beware of that person. So now, I've had people who I've asked to do something for me, and they say, I have many titles: Grandmaster, Master, Sensei, Shifu, Teacher, Preacher, Brother Teacher, Sir, Old School, and so on and so forth, Pops, Granddad, all of the titles, whoever you are. When they ask me to do something, for example, or when I ask, I should say in this particular instance, I say, hey, John, for example, I'm at my store. Can you bring me a case of Pepsi? I just ran out. Can you bring it from the store, the grocery store, another store, until my truck delivery comes? John says, I got you, teacher. Okay, what does that mean or imply to me? You're going to accomplish that. I said, okay. Now, me being the military person that I am, I like specifics, and I like you to be clear with me. So, okay, John, I need it today at 3 o'clock. By 3 o'clock. Okay, I got you, teacher. All right. I took John's word face value. You said you were going to do it, and you were going to be here at least by 3 to bring the product that I asked you for. Now, mind you, I'm not going to ask you for something that I don't need or just for no reason at all. John says, got you, teacher. Okay. Now, it's 2:45. No phone calls. John didn't show up. All right, it's not 3 o'clock yet. Now, my pop in my cooler is diminishing from my customer traffic, the one that I inquired or asked about. Now it's 15 minutes after 3. Wow. Am I overly concerned? No, I'm not overly concerned. But I am curious why John has not made it to my store, and why John minimally did not call me or contact me and say something came up or I won't be able to do it. So 15 minutes. I've told my students and have told them over the years, the only good excuse that a person can ever give me when it comes to responsibility and keeping your word and keeping your appointments would be that you died. That's me. Okay, so now it's 25 minutes after 3 now. John, no call and no show. I give people the benefit of the doubt. Could be traffic. It could be something that you had no control over. Okay? Just something that happened. All right. Now, I'm just about out of product now that I asked John to go pick up. So now it's 1:15, 15 minutes before 4 o'clock. So it is actually 45 minutes past the time that I asked John to bring me the Pepsi. John still didn't show up. John didn't call. Now it's 4 o'clock. Why don't I call? Why didn't I call John? Stop. This is why I didn't call John, and I don't call John, because you are an individual, ladies and gentlemen. And once you reach a certain age of maturity, you're supposed to be grown. You're supposed to be responsible. You're supposed to be able to manage your own affairs. You're supposed to be an honorable individual. And I'm just using this one scenario, this one situation. But before I beat up on John, let's wait for a moment and see what happens. Now it's 4:15. Okay, so now it's been over an hour. John didn't show up. Now John calls. And I said, hey, John, did you forget that I asked you to bring me a case of Pepsi? John said, oh, teacher, I had to stop at this one place to run an errand for someone, but I will be there in half an hour. Ladies and gentlemen, is that acceptable? No, it is not. And I'll tell you why. You made a commitment to me and I talked to you, I asked you a question and you told me and confirmed to me that you were going to do a certain thing for me at a certain time, the time that I had chosen, that would have benefited me, and you did not fulfill it. You did not keep your word. Instead, number one, you didn't show up. Two, you didn't even call me and tell me that you had another circumstance. So what you really are saying to me is that I'm not important enough to you, or what I needed was not important enough to you for you to keep your word and fulfill that request that I ask of you. And that's a small request. It is. Now, I've seen things play out before where people have had important requests that they've asked other people to help them with or fulfill for them. And people do the same thing that John did. Didn't show up and didn't call. And what's interesting, this is what's really interesting to me, is that when you call the person on it in a very polite way, maybe even firm and polite, couldn't you have at least called me? Couldn't you at least have let me know that something came up, instead of having me wait on you to bring that product to me? Because I could have called someone else or could have made other arrangements if you had let me know well ahead of time, instead of leaving me hanging out there waiting on you to no avail. And then John gets upset that I am perturbed with him for his lack of responsibility, and he wants to get an attitude with me because I'm calling him on his irresponsibility. But he wants to get an attitude with me as if I have the problem and not him. So this is where maturity is, ladies and gentlemen. Your word should mean something. Do you hear what I'm saying? It should mean something. If a person asks you to do something, if you can't do it, don't tell them that you're going to do it if you know you can't, or you know you won't do it. Be a man, be a woman, and say, I'm sorry, I can't do it. You don't have to give them an explanation. I won't be able to do that. Just leave it alone. Now, on the other hand, if you can do it, but you can't do it within the time frame that they are asking you, let them know when you will be able to do it and make sure that you fulfill that obligation, because it keeps friendships intact, business relationships intact, family relationships intact. Your word should mean something, is what I'm saying to you. Now, my question to you that's sitting out there in the audience watching me today is, does your word mean something? Does it? Does your word mean something? So, another scenario. A person asked me for $10, right? Okay, I'm not going to beat them over the head over $10. They say, brother teacher, may I borrow $10 until tomorrow? I'll look at them. I say, okay. And oftentimes I'll repeat what they said. I say, until tomorrow? What time tomorrow? They'll say whatever the time is. I say, okay. Here you go. They'll say thank you and go on about their business. So now, am I going to call them the night of or before tomorrow comes and say, don't forget that $10 tomorrow? I'm not going to do that. You know why? I want you to be a man. I want you to be a woman. And I'm going to see, and I'm not watching you under a microscope because it's not that serious. But what is serious to me is your being a man or a woman of your word. So when tomorrow comes, it will be in the back of my mind a little bit. And that's it. But I'm not going to let that take over my day, being concerned about the $10 that you borrowed. And you know what? I will continue on my day as usual. And amongst whatever I'm doing that particular day, when you walk in and say, oh, by the way, here's that $10. I'll look at you and guess what? A little trust has been built in you. I'll shake your hand and I'll say, thank you. Is everything okay? And then we go our merry way. Now, the flip side of that, conversely, is it's the middle of the day. Haven't seen you. No phone call from you. Am I going to call you? Hey, so-and-so, what about that $10? Did you forget the $10? I'm not going to do that. I don't chase people around. Again, I want you to show and prove to me that you are a man or a woman of your word. And you should do the same. So now, the day is done and I'm closing my store for the day. And you've already gotten the $10 the day before. And you're supposed to have brought me the $10 back today in this scenario. And you didn't show up and you didn't call me. Now, we're on day 2. No phone call. Again, no phone call. Now we're in the middle of the day. Still no phone call and you didn't show up. Am I calling you? No. That $10 doesn't worry me. So, but you are getting merits and or demerits for your being a man of your word, or for lack of your word, keeping your word. That is. So now, third day pops up. I happen to see you and I'm at the gas station, right? Going to get my daily coffee. And this is a true scenario. This one here. I can make my own coffee, but I'm over there because I like to get out and about. So I'm getting my coffee and I see you. Make eye contact, both of us. You say, hey teacher, how you doing? I'm not going to walk up to you, say, hey, what about that 10? I'm not going to do that. You know you owe me $10 and I know you owe me $10. And so whatever you're doing in the gas station, convenience store part of it, you do what you do. So I'm going to go get my coffee and I see you make a purchase and you walk out the door. You didn't come to me and say, oh, by the way, here's the $10. That didn't happen. So what does that tell you, ladies and gentlemen? That is a person that you shouldn't trust in the future. So now, that's happened to me before, of course. More than once before in my lifetime. But anyway, so I get my coffee, I go back to my place of business. Still not want to call the person. All right, so now we're on day 4. Still don't see the person. So now we're on day 5. I bump into the individual again, and we're this close to one another. Just out and about. I'm making my trips to my bank or what have you, and I bump into the person. I say, hey, how's it going? This time, I say, did you forget that you owed me $10? Now this time I do say something. This is 5 days in now, but 4 days before, I made no attempt to contact this individual, but I saw them twice. Now on the 5th day, bump into them again, and we're up close and personal. I say, did you forget, real calmly, that you owe me $10? Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. I'm going to get it to you. Okay. All right. So now, a week passed. I didn't say anything to them after they said they was going to get it to me. I just left it alone and went about my business. So a week passed, another week passes, and then they look upon $10 or come across $10, and they stop in the store and they hand me $10. Here's that 10 I owe you. And when I look at their expression on their face, it seems as though they're reluctant to even give me the $10, as if they are self-entitled and they don't really want to give it to me. Like, why are you deserving of this $10? You have so much, or you have this and you have that. And I've seen and experienced that type of individual before, because they think because you have a business, you don't need your money, and because maybe they have less than what you have, they're entitled somehow or another. They just won't come out and tell you that. And I have been told that by one individual over the years. But anyway, so they hand me reluctantly the $10. Here's that 10 I owe you. So guess what? What's the lesson learned there? Not from me necessarily, because I've learned this years ago. But I will say this: never give anyone more than you're willing to lose. I would have never given that person $100 or $1,000. That person, no. You start out in baby steps, and you see how they treat that small amount, because how they treat that small amount is going to determine how they treat a larger amount down the road, if that be the case. So, but what that person learned from me is this: if you come back again to ask me for money, you won't get it. And you will get, but you will get my lesson, and I'm going to tell you. I said, listen, and I encourage you to do the same. Listen, when you borrowed the first $10 from me, you told me that you were going to pay me back the next day. Pause. I do know, I understand that things come up. But what I do understand also is that you are a grown man, a supposedly mature individual, an adult, that you know how to communicate. Just like you asked me for the money, you could call me on the phone or show up and say, well, I ran into a problem. This is what my problem is. Can you give me a little more time to pay you back? As opposed to not communicating with me at all, because that gives me the impression that you can't be trusted. Because you were available, you were somewhere around where you could have contacted me and let me know that you won't be able to fulfill what you said you were going to do. And I would have had more trust in you. But to not show up at all, and to not contact me via phone at all, and to have seen me once or twice already and still have not told me what was going on with you and or your situation, caused me to arrive at a conclusion. And that conclusion is this: you can't get any money from me again. Because as the Bible says, if you're faithful in little things, God will trust you to be faithful in greater things. I'm paraphrasing. If you're faithful in much, then you'll be faithful in anything. Or if you're faithful in little, you'll be faithful in much. So if I give him this small amount of money and he's not going to contact me and let me know, hey, I won't be able to fulfill what I said I was going to fulfill, and this is what I can do, he will have never had a problem with me. But now he has burned that bridge just with that one instance, because a person like that is a cancer in your life. It's the truth. Because they're always going to be needy. They're always going to be in need because they don't manage their own affairs. They don't manage their own lives. And that's just $10. How do they treat every other issue in their lives? The same. It's just that simple. So, again, the topic of this video has to do with a person keeping their word. So do you keep your word? When you tell your children something, for example, Daddy's going to take you fishing. Daddy's going to take you to the bouncy house. Daddy's going to take you to get some ice cream. Daddy's going to take you to the movies. Keep your word, fathers. Moms, you do the same thing. Stop telling your children that you're going to do something for them and keeping their hopes up, and then you don't do it at all. At least be mom and dad responsible and say to that child may not accept it right away, but communicate with your children, talk to your children and say this: listen, mom or dad can't do it right now, but this is what we will do. And be firm on it, and you make it happen. Don't just tell them anything and don't fulfill it, because that child is going to look at you as a liar. And I've seen it happen so many times. Be truthful and be honest, especially with your family. And if you're in the business world, be honest. Just simply be honest. Keep your word. So I'm asking you this while you're sitting out there right now. Do you keep your word when you tell someone that you're going to do something? Husband and wives, boyfriend, girlfriends, or just friends in general, family members. Do you keep your word when you tell someone that you're going to do something? Do you do it? Or do you let it linger on and days pass, months pass, maybe even years pass, and you're always riddled with excuses why you didn't do it? No time like the present. Just simply be honest. I hope you enjoyed my video. I enjoyed giving it to you. I did. Please support my channel. Like, subscribe, and share. Please copy my videos if you find them beneficial, because there are those people out there that like to censor what we say, especially when they benefit humanity. And if you record these things and you archive these things, they'll benefit you down the road, and even your family members. You can donate to me if you like at paypal.com. The password and our code is broteacher and a number 1 at hotmail.com. Or you can cash app me at Cash App, the $ and broteacher, BROTEACHER, broteacher. Much love. Until the next time, so long.